You're listening to my friend Gary Anderson on Night Dreams Talk Radio, the best in paranormal radio.
Why, thank you, John. Well, I can't say it's the best, I can't say it's the worst, but what can I say? It's just a talk show. Hey, you know, in the news today, they're saying it might be, well, some trouble brewing. Well, if you're a beer lover. With the climate changes going on, they said in a few years there could be a shortage. That's right, in getting beer. Now, what are we all going to do if you can't get beer? I mean, you know, it's time. We better start watching our climate and try to do what we can to keep it, from maybe going as bad as they're saying it might be going. Now, are the governments covering up UFOs and aliens? A report has come out and it says, well, they certainly are. Especially coming from Canada, they're saying that the United States is covering up, well, visits from UFOs and aliens. I think like my ex-wife might fall under the alien part. Well, Wall Street today was dragged down by the tech stocks. And you know what? You can kind of blame that on a couple different things. One is putting the tariffs on is really causing a problem now with our economy worldwide, and I'm just wondering how bad it will go. But we'll talk about that more tomorrow. And we got a great guest right after this.
Please check out the Night Dreams Talk Radio website at www.nightdreamstalkradio.com. Also, if you want to keep our show free of advertising, just hit the donate button. Give a buck or two. Remember, all prior shows are always free to listen to. We at Night Dreams Talk Radio thank you for your support.
Our intro music is provided by Kevin MacLeod at Incompetech.com.
Well, it is Monday already. The weekend went so fast for me. I've been remodeling the studio for the past week. Made some major changes with the equipment. Hopefully we sound even better than we did before. Put a lot more soundproofing in and added another computer system and another server. So, boy, as we're growing, we found that, the audience we have right now, our server couldn't handle any more people, so we added a second server. Hey, our guest tonight is going to be talking about her first book she has wrote. And are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Why don't you tell the audience who you are?
My name's Kae Galla, and I wrote Starburst.
Okay.
I'm a big into paranormal romance.
Okay, well, how long have you really been into writing? Is it something that, it started when you were a young girl and, hearing stories like from maybe your mother or grandmother and this, got you really intrigued into like the paranormal and stories and in general?
Well, I've always loved to write. When I was little, I would sit with my mom and my grandma and draw these little doodles that, looking back now, they really didn't look much like anything. But I would pretend like I was writing stories. And then, I don't know, I just got really busy in high school and stopped writing. And a couple years ago, I was getting close to the big 3-0 and had one of those moments of, well, why did I stop doing that? I loved it. It was my favorite thing ever. So I picked up a pen and I started writing again.
Wow, you make 3-0 sound old. I mean, I am 66 going on 67. And, now I really feel old.
Oh, no, it was one of those days. I was having a bad day.
Okay. So, I mean, when you were a little girl, did your grandmother or mother, sit down and tell you stories? Did that kind of really motivate you, or did you just make up stories?
I was a little bit of both. Whenever we would get through a book and I would be done with all the stories that we had at the time, all the books, and I wanted something new, my mom or my grandma or whoever was there had to come up with new stories. But it got to a point where they said, oh, no, you come up with the story. You tell me a story. So it just became this fun thing where we would go back and forth and talk about all the different creatures that could possibly be, and it was just something fun to do. And I remember that from a kid, and it just kind of kept coming with me.
Well, do you remember any of the stories when you were like maybe in junior high school that you told and that really infatuated people? Like, wow, that's a good story.
I actually had one that I did for a writing class, and I didn't remember it until that day that I was coming up on my 30th birthday. We were going through the garage, and I actually found that story in the garage in a box of my old schoolwork. And there was a note from my teacher telling me how much she loved the story and didn't want me to ever stop writing, and that was kind of my kick in the butt. Oh, well, I shouldn't have stopped to begin with, so it's on my list of to bring back. But it was a space theme one where the girl, she was, at the time I was around 13, so of course my character at the time was around 13, and she left on a spaceship to find whatever she could find in a new adventure, and it was exploring space, things like that. So I'd like to eventually revisit that, but...
Wow, yeah, there's not many. I have, in fact, even seen one. Now, of course, I'm not an expert in books by any means, but I haven't seen a book yet where a girl, jumps onto a spaceship to explore, the universe. I mean, that right there, there's a lot of women out there who would really enjoy that type of book. And a lot of guys.
Yeah, it's all about the fun. An adventure.
Well, the book, a little bit about the book now. I mean, how long did it take you to write it? And, and how do you write a book? I mean, do you sit there in front of your computer and just type away, or do you go to bed at night and all of a sudden, oh, I thought about this would be perfect for my book?
It's a little bit of everything, really. There are days that, especially like dreary, dark days. I'm in Ohio, and today it rained all day. Today is one of those perfect days where you just kind of sit and relax, and all of a sudden the characters start talking to you and telling you things that are going to happen and things that are going on. And then for Starburst in particular, when I decided I was going to sit down and write again, my husband was a huge support. He bought me a couple notebooks and some pens. They have to be bright and obnoxious colored because that's just my personality. I always say my favorite color is obnoxious. If it's bright and obnoxious, it's for me. So I sat down with the pen and paper and the notebooks, and I just started, sketching a couple things down, writing a couple ideas here and there, and eventually they turned into a scene or two, which turned into a chapter or two, and eventually I had filled a notebook. And at that point, my husband said to me, what if something happens to your notebook? You need to type this out. And I was like, okay, I'll type it out just so that I have it typed out. And then after I had it all typed in, he's like, you really have a lot here. Why don't you get it edited? Just have somebody look at it. And at that point, I was terrified for anybody to see my work. Completely terrified.
Why?
But I just didn't think anybody would... I hadn't been writing for so long, so I hadn't thought that... I don't know. I was just scared, I guess. Breaking it down, I was just scared. So I found a couple writing groups on Facebook, and I actually met my editors, who are amazing, and they actually run my publishing house. So it was kind of a 2-for-1. I met them, and they read my work, helped me edit it, and then they said, okay, why don't we go forward and publish it? It was a moment of, oh, I did a thing. I really did a thing.
Well, how many pages is it? Is it like a one-night read, two-night read, or what am I saying? Weed
it would definitely be. It would definitely be a longer read. My paperback itself is at about 419 pages.
Oh, wow.
So it's definitely a multiple-day read. And I am a slow reader. So for anybody who thinks that writers are automatically fast readers, not the case. I'm a slow reader. So something like that would probably take me about a week.
Well, I just got in the mail today from another writer who wants to be on the show. They wrote a sci-fi book, about monsters and, things like that, black-eyed children. And, they told me they were sending me the book. And I got the book, and it is like 5 by 7, maybe a little smaller, and it has 38 pages.
Oh, geez.
And, you know, and I'm going to read it here tonight, but I mean, you know, I really hate to say it. 38 pages is not enough to really get into a story. I mean, just as you get into like the 36th page, you're really starting to get into a story, and then it's over with.
It all depends on the author. They might be great at giving you a whole bunch in one, but it probably will hook you on the author, and you'll want more. You'll be like, where's the rest of the story? Can I have another installation?
Yeah. Well, you never know. I was just kind of shocked. Then I got a book, believe it or not, a couple of months ago. The writer now, he's from the UK, but now he lives in France. And he has written about a lot of books, actually. But one of them is about, reincarnation and stuff like that. And he sent me the book, and he didn't tell me this thing is thick. Do you remember the old phone books when you were a kid?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, this book
Those were
probably...
Those were great